how my view of success has changed over the years. As a loner. I've always got to get that one in there. But hello, and welcome to this episode 26 of my series where I talk about a topic for 10 or so minutes every day, unscripted and unedited. Just to work on my speaking, to be honest. And this topic was generated for me based on my previous transcripts. And for a change, I think it's an absolutely fantastic topic to talk about. I think anyone could talk about this topic at length because, everyone's view of success, unless when you were born, when you came out of the womb, you were motivated for a very specific thing. Everyone's view of success has probably changed over time. Or perhaps it hasn't done in some respects. I would argue that if I were to think about it sort of at a high level, then, my view of success hasn't necessarily changed much over time. Well, it has changed a bit, but in some ways it's been quite cyclical. But yeah, that's enough rambling for me at the start. Let me get on with the video. So, if I were to think back to my earliest view of, what I would have thought a successful life would have been based on what I thought a good career was as a child, it would be that I wanted to be a film director who made movies about dinosaurs. And I'm sure this might be quite a common one for young people. I would have decided this when I was around sort of 7 or 8. It's just when Jurassic Park first came out, the first one, and it blew my little mind. I was so interested in the concept of making films similar to that, or making movies. Probably because I wanted to be around dinosaurs, but the filming aspect actually is something I sort of pretended to do quite a lot as a child. So we didn't have any sort of video cameras back then. They were quite rare for a family to have. Like, there were no digital cameras. It was all VHS cameras, and even if I had one, there would be no easy way for a child to learn editing techniques. So I would just pretend I was filming something constantly. Looking back on it, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but in some way, if it was a passion that I did continue, then it would already have been a fantastic career choice for me. Perhaps I would have got involved in online content creation earlier, but who knows? These are interesting thought experiments. How would my life be different if I made a different decision when I was sort of 10 plus, something along those lines? Because to be honest, once I finished, or was about midway through my secondary school, so sort of 14, 15 perhaps, I can't really remember what my ambitions were, what I thought success was. It was probably just, all I wanted to do at the time was just hang out and not go to school, play video games and just sort of bum around. I sort of lost my ambition as I got a bit older, my drive for any sort of level of success. From my perspective, everything was fine. I got to live at home for free, I got free food. I had my hobbies at the time, which were, if I recall, were just video games and wargaming, that sort of thing. I had no drive for anything further than that, any additional education or anything. Just wanted to mess around. In fact, I recall in my final year of school, I made this calendar, which I marked off every day to my final day of school. It's something I really look forward to, but I had no plan afterwards. So I was like, well, what next? In some respects, that's very similar to my life at the moment. What next once I've accomplished my goals? But yeah, at the time, I just had to do what I was told by my parents, I suppose. It was go to college, so college being age 16 to 18 education in the UK, that is. So you do your A-levels, they're called advanced levels, I think it means. And I chose just what I thought was vaguely interesting or perhaps quite easy. So that was Japanese, economics, sociology, classical civilization, and politics. And none of those led to anything. Again, I just went to college because I knew I was supposed to. I had a part-time job and played a lot of World of Warcraft, which kind of took over my life completely then. At that point, I suppose my view of success was to just be able to survive the day, earn enough money to exist and play video games. And it was quite a depressing view of success, I suppose, at the time. Although at the time I had ambitions of being successful in the game and, let's say, starting relationships with people that I'd met on the game, which sounds a bit ridiculous now, but it was weirdly a bit easier back in the day before all these relationship apps and such have been released. People who wanted to meet each other had to find some sort of common interest, and then you'd find people, I suppose, in that area, and you'd have the opportunity to start relationships. And at the time, most people were too afraid to approach others online, so it was fairly easy to start a relationship online with someone if you really wanted to. And this was sort of successful for a while, but it kind of burnt out quite a lot for me. I guess it's my loner tendencies which held me back quite a lot, because I wanted to live life in a very specific way, and most people don't want to live life in the way I live my life. So yeah, that was it for a while, and I'd finished my 18-year-old education, and once again, what do I do next? I just fell into university. At this point, I had a vague idea as to what I thought success would be, and it was just the ability to have a regular job and play video games in my spare time. And that was something I guess I had really a high ambition for. So I went to university. I had no plan for getting a job in my particular area, so I initially studied Japanese, politics, once I dropped out of Japanese, and then dropped out of university entirely. And I was still just addicted to video games. I was playing video games with all my spare time. My sleep pattern was ruined, and again, my view of success in that respect was to continue just playing video games and, playing them at a high level. I get this unfortunate feeling that that's something a lot of young people do these days, with esports and such taking off. Yeah, we do get to see the greats, but then there must be lots of people who have also dedicated all of their time and ambition to this sort of thing and not necessarily seen much success. Although there's a lot more in terms of opportunity of getting yourself out there nowadays, so with online content creation, there's always a way of at least getting yourself out there. Once people are happy or confident to take that step, as I've very recently been, I suppose, with this channel. But we'll fast forward a bit now. Fast forward a bit to my second time at university. So when I went to university the second time, my view of success in that respect was to live the university life that I didn't live the first time. So this was to get a first class degree, so do as best as I can in my studies, to join sports teams and try and be the social person that you're supposed to be at university, at least what was promoted in the cultural media at the time. So in, let's say, movies and TV shows, you're supposed to behave a certain way at university, go out partying all the time, that sort of thing. And I did that, and I guess that was a massive success. I got my degree. I've got all kinds of wild stories from university. I don't really have any sort of friendships or relationships which continued any further, if I recall. I think I have 2 people on Facebook still that I attended university with. I don't really talk to them much. They've got their own lives now. In some respects, what was the point in going to university if I don't have anything to say from it apart from my memories and stories? But it led me to my job, at least, so you could argue that was a useful thing. My job as a scientist, because I studied science at university. And now here I am. So what is my view of success in the current day? And it's quite hard to say in some respect. I would say that at the moment, I see success as the opportunity to live a peaceful life. I'm living the loner life. I want to live a life where I'm not massively stressed out about anything. A bit of stress is okay, and in fact it's expected, because if it's too peaceful, then I'm going to talk about this in the future in my loner videos when I get round to those. If it's too peaceful, then any unexpected thing that happens is, well, it becomes the only thing you can think about, and you can get very, very stressed about these things. I found, like something very small, like let's say a pipe stripping all of a sudden in your house, and if that's the only thing that's the problem, that's the only thing you can think about. But yeah, also the ability to not worry about money. That's a very important thing to me. the ability to quit my addictions, or at least my massively negative ones. So that's the alcoholism, of course. That has shaped my view of success quite a lot recently. Like, I had all these ambitions when I was a crippling alcoholic, but I wasn't able to act on them, or I just chose not to because it was easier to put it off by a day and just buy some more beers. But that's stopped now. Hopefully that's stopped forever. Although I get the feeling I'll relapse at some point. This seems to be a common thing amongst ex-alcoholics. And yeah, my view of success now that I have my peaceful life, is to be able to make these videos, coming full circle, to my early days of aspiring to be a director of dinosaur movies. Perhaps I've somehow managed to link it back to the start. So yeah, it was a bit of a rambly one as always, but I think this is a really interesting topic to investigate for everyone to think about what their current view of success is, how it's shaped, or how their past life has shaped things. Is there anything that they've kind of forgotten about from their childhood that is still shaping their view of a successful life? And is there anything that they think they would change or could change at the moment, like my alcoholism, to allow them to live the successful life or their view of success? Christ, how many times have I said success in this video? Perhaps I'll add that in the transcript. I'll count that in the transcript and put it at the end. But yeah, thank you for listening. I've got a busy day ahead at work, a busy weekend ahead, but I'll look forward to making a few more of these videos just to complete this challenge, and I can't wait to start making any more videos afterwards. But thank you, and goodbye.